I woke up that morning not expecting balloons or a fancy dinner. At my age, all I really wanted was a quiet call, a warm voice from my son, maybe a visit from the grandkids. Just something that said I hadn't been forgotten. The apartment was quiet, as always. I sat by the window with my coffee, watching the buses pass down on Montgomery Street, telling myself not to hope for too much. But still, I checked my phone. Then I checked again an hour later. By noon it was clear. No calls, no texts, nothing. Not from Michael, not from Emma, not even a happy birthday message. I had always made excuses for them. Busy lives, kids with soccer practice, deadlines. But this was different. Something felt deliberate this time. Cold. Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I hadn't seen them in over 3 weeks. Last time I visited, Emma barely spoke to me. She spent most of the time texting while I tried to make conversation with the kids. Michael acted like everything was normal, passing me a plate at dinner, asking how my knees were doing, but he didn't really look at me. And the moment I offered to help clear the dishes, Emma stood up and said, "It's fine. We've got it." She didn't look back, so when the silence stretched through my birthday, I told myself it was probably just a misunderstanding. Maybe they planned something for the evening. Maybe they'd show up with a cake like they used to, with the kids yelling surprise even though they never managed to whisper quietly. By 5:00 p.m., I stopped pretending. Out of habit, I opened Facebook. I don't post much, but I like seeing what my old coworkers are up to. And that's when I saw it. A photo of a long table, beautifully set, flowers everywhere. A large cake right in the center. The caption said, "Celebrating with our favorite. People. Grateful. Family first. Happy birthday, Marion." Marion, that's me. In the photo, I saw Emma standing behind the cake, holding a knife like she was about to cut it. My grandkids were smiling, wearing party hats. Michael was sitting at the head of the table, holding a glass of wine. Around them, a group of people I barely recognized. Emma's friends, her sister, even her yoga instructor, if I'm not mistaken. I looked at it for a long time. The cake had my name on it. They were celebrating my birthday, without me. There were over 50 comments. "So beautiful. What a lovely idea. Your mom is so lucky to have such a thoughtful family." And Emma replied to every single one with hearts and smiley faces. I didn't know what to feel first. Confusion? Betrayal? Rage? At first I thought, maybe it's a surprise. Maybe they'll show up after. But the timestamp on the photo was from 3 hours earlier. And Emma was tagged in a video too, clinking glasses, giving a little speech. "We're so grateful to have our little circle of love here today. Family is who you choose, and we're just lucky we get to choose each other every day." Everyone clapped. I didn't realize my hands were shaking until I spilled coffee all over my pajama pants. I stood up fast, trying to clean it, but I just sat back down again, staring at the phone. No one had called. No one had come. And they were out there, eating my cake, making toasts, pretending I didn't exist. My phone buzzed. A message. From Ruth, my neighbor. "Ruth, just saw Emma's post. Everything okay? Thought today was your birthday?" That's when I knew. It wasn't just silence. It wasn't an accident. They had left me out on purpose. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I felt my face flush with heat, like I'd been slapped in public. I couldn't decide what was worse, the fact that they had done it, or the fact that they hadn't even bothered to hide it. I sat there in the kitchen until it got dark, my phone face down, the TV playing something I didn't hear. I didn't eat. I didn't move. I just kept thinking, why? I raised Michael on my own after his father passed. He was only 9 when I started working night shifts at the nursing home, just to make sure he had what he needed. I put off everything. Vacations, savings, retirement, because I wanted him to finish school, get a real future. And when he married Emma, I tried. God knows I tried. I bit my tongue. I offered help. I never interfered with the kids. So why? I didn't push Lily away. but I stopped waiting for things to return to what they never truly were. I stopped hoping that one day Emma would finally invite me to sit at the table like an equal. Instead, I made a new one. Not literally, but piece by piece, I rebuilt something. I said yes when a woman from church invited me to her book club. I had always said no before, thinking I'd be too tired or too out of place. But this time, I showed up. I brought deviled eggs to the community potluck on Sunday and ended up staying 2 extra hours just talking. I hadn't laughed that much in years. I started writing more. Not about them. About me. About the little things I used to enjoy: gardening, sewing, memories of raising Michael before everything got complicated. I cleaned out the spare bedroom and donated everything I'd been storing just in case they needed it. Old toys, fold-up crib, car seat, gone. I also removed the framed photo that used to hang above my television, the one from Michael and Emma's wedding. I didn't throw it out. I just put it in the drawer. That part of the story didn't need to be displayed anymore. 3 weeks after my post, I received a letter. A real handwritten letter. It was from Michael. He didn't say sorry right away. He didn't try to blame anyone. He just said, "I read the post again. Not for what upset me, but for what I ignored. You were right. I didn't protect you. I let distance grow because it was easier than standing up for you. I let Emma make you feel like an outsider, and I made it worse by staying quiet. I won't ask you to undo what you wrote. I just want to say that I'm sorry, and I'm going to work on being your son again, if you'll let me." I folded the letter and kept it in the kitchen drawer. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure how, but I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel defeated. I felt free. A month after my birthday, I decided to host my own dinner. Nothing fancy, just a few women from the book club, Ruth and Susan, who drove down from out of town with her husband to surprise me. I made lasagna, garlic bread, and a peach cobbler for dessert. The living room was full of voices and laughter. No one brought cameras. No one made speeches about love they didn't feel. There was no cake with my name on it, but when I looked around the table, I saw people who had chosen to be there, people who saw me. After everyone left, I sat down in the kitchen alone for a few minutes. I didn't feel lonely. I picked up the little peace lily and moved it to the windowsill. It looked good there, like it had always belonged. Before bed, I checked my phone one last time. There was a new message from Lily. "Lily, can I come visit you this weekend? Just me. I told Mom I want to see you. She wasn't happy, but I don't care." I smiled. Not because things were perfect, but because they didn't have to be. I didn't get revenge. I got something better. I got my life back, he said. Talk face to face. All right. I didn't think things were this bad. I don't think you were thinking at all. That landed. He looked down. I guess I thought we were doing okay, he said. You didn't say anything before. I did, Michael. Many times. You just didn't want to hear it. He nodded slowly. Emma's not doing well, he said. I'm not surprised, I replied. He finally looked at me. You made her look like a monster. I didn't use her name. I didn't accuse her of anything. I told the truth about how I was treated. That's not making anyone a monster. That's sharing my experience. He opened his mouth, then closed it. We sat there for a minute. You hurt a lot of people with that post, he said finally. I leaned forward. And what about all the birthdays I spent alone? What about being cut out of family events, Michael? Being treated like I was in the way? Like I was a problem to manage? Do you think that didn't hurt? He didn't answer. I continued. You and Emma wanted to build your life your way. That's fine. But you didn't have to erase me to do that. His voice cracked a little. I didn't know how to fix it. You didn't try. Another pause. Then he said something I didn't expect. I don't want to lose you. I stared at him. My throat tightened, but I kept my voice steady. Then, don't. But understand, I'm not going back to how things were. I won't be quiet just so you can feel comfortable. He nodded again. Slower this time, like he understood. even if he didn't like it. He stood up and looked at the flowers. "I brought those," he said awkwardly. "I know it's late. Thank you." He looked at the door, then back at me. I should go. I walked him to the door. Before he stepped out, he turned and said, If I want to make things right, where do I start?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "Start by telling the truth. To yourself first, then maybe to everyone else." He nodded again, then left. I didn't cry after he left. I didn't feel triumphant either. What I felt was settled. Not because anything had been fixed, but because for the first time, I was standing on solid ground, on my own terms. That night, I sat down and started a list. People who had reached out. People I wanted to respond to. People who, unlike Michael and Emma, hadn't waited until they were exposed to see me, because those were the people I wanted around me now. I spent the next few days doing something I hadn't done in a long time. Answering people, not avoiding. Not pretending, not staying quiet. I replied to the messages in my inbox one by one. Some were from strangers who had seen my posts through shares. Others were women I used to know from church, from the PTA when Michael was in school. Even a few, former coworkers I hadn't heard from in decades. Many of them just wanted to say they understood. Some told me their own stories, of being pushed aside after a divorce, of daughters-in-law who never liked them, of sons who slowly stopped calling. I started a notebook to keep track of the names, not because I needed a record, but because it reminded me I wasn't isolated like I had been led to believe. The day after Michael came by, I received a message from Lily, my oldest granddaughter. She's 14. Teenagers usually don't message their grandmothers unless it's a birthday or a thank you note someone told them to send, but this message felt different. Lily. Hi, Grandma. I saw your post. Mom was really mad. But I just wanted to say I miss you. I don't really get why you haven't been around, but I liked when you used to pick me up from school. It was short, simple, but honest. I read it twice, then I typed back, me. Hi, Lily. I miss you too. I've wanted to be around more. Maybe we can talk sometime. Just us. She didn't answer right away, but later that night, she reacted to my message. With a heart. That was enough for now. On Friday, Ruth came by again. She brought soup this time and a small plant in a white ceramic pot. "This is a piece, Lily," she said. I thought it fit the situation. I gave her a look, and she smiled. "Not for them, for you. You've earned some peace." We had soup at the table while the plant sat between us. Ruth asked me if I planned on talking to Emma again. I said no. Not because I was holding a grudge, but because I didn't need anything from her. She'd made her choices. So had I. I didn't block. Michael. She held a small gift bag in one hand and 2 grocery store cupcakes in the other. "I didn't know if you'd want to talk," she said, "but I figured you shouldn't eat alone again." I didn't cry, but I wanted to. Not because of the cupcakes, but because it had been so long since someone had done something for me without expecting anything back. We sat at the table, and I told her everything. About Emma, about the birthday, about Michael's call. She didn't interrupt. She didn't tell me I was overreacting. She just listened. Before she left, she put her hand on mine. "You were right to speak up," she said. "They counted on your silence. You did the only thing you could." That night, I went back on Facebook for a few minutes. I didn't post anything new. I just read the comments again. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel erased. The following morning started quietly, just like the others. But it didn't feel the same. There was a weight in the air, like the pause before something breaks. I had slept through the night surprisingly, but when I woke up, I had that feeling in my chest, the kind that tells you something is coming. When I checked my phone, I saw I had 4 missed calls. 2 from Michael, 1 from an unknown number, and another from Emma's sister, Jessica. There were also 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to them right away. I opened Facebook first, The post had passed 1,000 reactions, over 400 comments, dozens of messages in my inbox, most from people I didn't know. Thank you for saying what many of us are too afraid to say. I've been in your shoes. I felt like a ghost in my own family, too. Your words helped me talk to my own daughter. But then there were new comments. Ones that came with a tone I hadn't seen before. One woman, a friend of Emma's, wrote, "This is just one side. You should be careful when posting things like this." Another comment, shorter, hit me harder. "Michael has always been good to you. Why are you trying to ruin his life?" I realized Emma and Michael had started defending themselves. Or maybe they had their friends do it for them. That's when I played the voicemails. The first was from Michael. His voice was tight, like he was trying not to yell. "Mom, I don't know what you're trying to do here. You've turned this into something public and ugly. Emma's had people messaging her, saying horrible things. She had to cancel 2 meetings today because of the stress. You need to fix this. Take the post down." The second was shorter. From Emma's sister. "I don't know what kind of point you're trying to make, but dragging Emma online like this is petty. You're her mother-in-law, not a victim. Grow up." I deleted that one without finishing it. The third was from Michael again a few hours later. I don't understand. I always thought you knew we cared. I know we haven't been perfect. But, Mom, this is going too far. You've made this so public. How do we come back from this? I paused that message and replayed just the last part. How do we come back from this? That's what he was worried about. Coming back. Rebuilding the image. Making things look normal again. But I wasn't interested in going back. I wasn't interested in pretending anymore. That afternoon, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Susan, my niece on my brother's side. We were never particularly close, but she had always been kind. Susan. "Hi, Marion. I read your post. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I had no idea things had gotten that bad. My mom told me Emma always seemed cold to you, but I never thought it was like that. If you ever want to visit, we'd love to have you." It wasn't dramatic, but it mattered. One message like that, a quiet offer of warmth, was enough to remind me that the world didn't start and end with Michael and Emma. That evening, I was folding laundry when there was a knock at the door. I opened it and found Michael standing there. He looked exhausted, hair uncombed, shirt wrinkled. He had a grocery store bag in his hand, the kind with an awkwardly stuffed bouquet and a box of cookies. "Hi," he said, not meeting my eyes. I stepped aside. "You want to come in?" He hesitated, then nodded. He walked in and stood near the table, like he didn't know where to sit. I pointed to the chair across from mine. He put the flowers down on the table without saying a word about them. I figured I'd come by. I didn't feel invisible. I didn't expect anything to happen right away. I thought the post might get a few reactions, maybe a couple of supportive comments from Ruth or someone else from my building. But within an hour, there were over 30 comments. By lunchtime, it was over 100. Some were from people I hadn't spoken to in years, old neighbors, retired coworkers, even someone from the church I used to attend before my knees made long services too painful. "You did the right thing. Marion?" My daughter stopped calling me too. "I know how you feel. I'm glad you said something. You're not alone." That last part stuck with me. You're not alone. I had felt alone for so long, I didn't even realize how deeply it had taken root in me. How normal I had made the silence. But now it was different. I had said something. I had told the truth, and now people were listening. But not all the comments were kind. Some people said things like, "Family is hard. You should talk to them directly, not post online." One woman, someone I barely knew, commented, "This is a private matter. You shouldn't be airing dirty laundry." I didn't answer. I didn't feel the need to. Because this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about shaming anyone. It was about me refusing to stay silent any longer. They had made their version public. Smiling photos, fake captions, a performance of love that didn't include me. I had every right to tell my version too. I didn't go on Facebook again that day. I spent the afternoon organizing my hallway, closet, something I'd been putting off for months. Every so often, my phone buzzed with a notification, but I ignored it. I felt calm, not agitated, like I had just put down something heavy I'd been carrying far too long. Around 5 p.m., the phone rang. It was Michael. I let it go to voicemail. 5 minutes later, he called again. This time I picked up. "Mom," he said. His voice was tense. "What is going on?" I said nothing at first. I wanted to hear how he'd frame it. "Emma showed me your post. She's really upset. What were you thinking?" "What was I thinking?" I repeated slowly. "Yes," he said. "I mean, you could have just called me. Why post something like that? Now everyone's messaging us, asking questions." I stayed calm. "I posted it because I've called before. I've tried to talk, and nothing changed." He sighed. "You're making it sound like we abandoned you." "You didn't abandon me, Michael," I said. "You erased me, and you know it. That's not fair, is it not?" I asked. "You had a dinner in my name. You cut a cake with my name on it. You toasted to me, and never thought once to invite me." "That was Emma's idea," he muttered, "and you agreed to it." He didn't respond right away. "She said it would be too much for you," he finally said. "She thought, I don't know, you'd be uncomfortable." "So, instead of asking me," I said, "you both decided for me. You celebrated me without me." "That's not what we meant." "I don't care what you meant. I care what you did." There was a long pause. "Emma's really hurt," he said. I let out a breath. "She's hurt?" "She's hurt because I finally told people what's been happening for years." He didn't answer. "I was invisible, Michael. And now I'm not. That's all." The silence on the other end stretched longer than I expected. "I didn't know it felt that bad," he said, quieter now. "You didn't want to know." I hung up after that, not out of anger. I just didn't want to argue anymore. I had said what I needed to say. That evening, Emma messaged me. I didn't expect an apology, and I didn't get one. "Emma, you really embarrassed the whole family. I hope it was worth it. Emma, next time you have something to say, be a grown-up and come to us directly. Emma, posting things online like a teenager is beneath you." I stared at those messages for a while, then I blocked her, not because I was angry, but because I was done. By the next morning, the post had over 600 reactions and nearly 200 comments. Women I'd never met were tagging friends. Some even shared the post on their own pages, writing things like, "Read this if you've ever been pushed aside by your own family," or "This broke my heart." It surprised me. I didn't think so many people would relate, but they did. It wasn't just my story. It was something bigger. Late in the afternoon, I got a knock at my door. It was Ruth. I found others from the past few months. There were family game nights, Sunday lunches, school events, pool parties. I wasn't in any of them. Not a single one. But it was more than that. They had stopped tagging me. They had stopped mentioning me. There wasn't a trace of me in their digital life anymore. No photos of me with the kids. No comments like, "Grandma helped with this." It was like I never existed. I remembered a picture from 2 years ago, Lily's birthday. I had made her a handmade costume from scratch. It took me 3 days. Emma posted a picture of Lily wearing it, beaming, but the caption just read, "Our little star, ready for the show." No mention of me. Back then, I thought it didn't matter. I told myself as long as Lily liked it, that's enough. I always tried to believe the effort was what counted, but now I understood. They had been rewriting the story for a long time. They wanted to tell a version where I wasn't part of the family, where Emma and her side of the family were the center, where I was an extra they could crop out. And the worst part? It worked. No one questioned it. Not Michael. Not the kids. Not Emma's friends or family. Because no one misses someone when they're slowly, quietly erased. I stood up from the table and went to the closet in the hallway. I pulled out the photo albums. The ones from before Michael got married. Before everything changed. Page after page of birthdays, Halloweens, First school days, just me and Michael. I saw his gap-toothed grin when he was 7. I saw him holding my hand at his high school graduation. I saw him sitting beside me on the hospital bed after my gallbladder surgery, smiling with that look that used to make me feel like I had done something right. I ran my hand across one of the pictures and asked out loud, "Where did you go?" He had been a sweet boy, thoughtful, kind, always checking on me. After college, when he got his first job, he brought me flowers every Mother's Day. Not expensive ones, just daisies from the corner store, but they meant something. He used to call on Sunday mornings just to say hi. I used to tell people he was my best friend, and now he couldn't be bothered to text me on my birthday. I closed the album and set it aside. My heart was beating fast. I felt the same pressure in my chest I had felt the night before. But now it wasn't confusion. It was focus. I walked back into the kitchen and opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to write. I didn't have a plan. But I knew I had stayed silent too long. They wanted to tell their version of the story. I would tell mine. I logged into Facebook. The blinking cursor in the status box stared back at me for a long time. I typed and deleted the first few lines at least 5 times. Everything sounded either too emotional or too cold. Then I stopped trying to make it perfect. I started writing what was true. I spent my birthday yesterday alone. My son and daughter-in-law held a dinner in my honor. They had a cake with my name on it. They toasted me. They smiled for pictures. I know this because I saw it online. I wasn't invited. I stared at that paragraph. My hands were shaking, a little. But I didn't stop. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a scheduling conflict. It was a choice, and not the first one. Over the last few years, I have been slowly excluded from holidays, events, and family traditions. I've watched from a distance while new photos are posted, while new stories are told, ones that no longer include me. I helped raise my son alone. I gave everything I had so he could have a better life, and now I don't even get a seat at the table. I stopped again. Should I post this? Would it seem bitter? Would people say I was overreacting? Then I remembered the comments under Emma's photo. The lies, the praise, the false version of who I was and how much they loved me. And I kept writing. This isn't a cry for sympathy. It's just a line in the sand. I won't pretend anymore. I won't accept silence as kindness. I won't let them erase me quietly. I signed it simply, Marion. Then I hit post. I sat there for a few minutes, watching the little spinning icon. Then the post went live. I closed the laptop and walked away, not out of fear, not out of shame, but because I didn't need to see their reactions right away. They had erased me in silence. I had answered with truth, and for the first time in years. And if I asked about something, the house, the kids, even Emma herself, he'd answer quickly and change the subject. Once, I asked if I'd done something to offend Emma. I asked him gently, on a walk after dinner. He didn't even let me finish the sentence. "Mom, don't start," he said. Emma's just private. She's not trying to push you away, but she was. I started to notice how she spoke about me when I was around. It was always indirect. Marion doesn't really eat that, right? Do you think she'll be comfortable? With so many stairs. Let's not overwhelm her with too many instructions. She forgets things. I'm not senile. I manage my bills, my home, my groceries. I still volunteer twice a week at the clinic. I drive myself to appointments, but Emma always looked at me like I was already halfway gone. And Michael, he started to look at me the same way. There were things that stuck with me. Moments I didn't realize were signs at the time. Like when they sent out a group text for a family barbecue and I never received it. When I showed up because Ruth told me about it, Emma acted surprised. "Oh, I didn't think you'd be coming. I thought you had that thing, that class or doctor." I didn't. She just hadn't included me. Then there was the time I offered to babysit Lily and Thomas for a weekend while they went on a trip. Emma smiled tightly and said, "We already asked my sister." I had already bought groceries. I'd cleaned the guest room. Michael didn't even call to explain, so I started to step back. I told myself I didn't want to force myself into their lives. I told myself they were busy, that modern families were different, that maybe I was too traditional. I made myself believe it was normal. But it wasn't. It was erasure. And the truth was, I had let it happen. I had sat quietly while Emma made the decisions. I had smiled politely while she cut me out. I had held back my feelings because I didn't want to cause a fight, because I didn't want to make Michael choose. But looking back now, I realized he already chose. He chose silence. He chose distance. He chose her version of the story, where I was a background character, a holiday inconvenience, a fading memory of a past he didn't want to deal with. That morning, after the birthday I wasn't invited to, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and looked at myself. My hair needed brushing. My sweater had a stain on the collar. I looked tired. I looked like someone who had stayed quiet too long. I picked up my phone again. Still no message from Michael. I opened Facebook again. The post was still up. More comments had come in. Such a sweet idea. Your mother must have been so touched. You're such a good daughter-in-law. And Emma responded, we love her so much. I stared at that reply. I read it over and over. We love her so much. It felt like a joke. A cruel, manufactured line for public image. A lie dressed as kindness. That's when I decided I wouldn't keep my mouth shut anymore. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to call Michael and cry. I was going to tell the truth. Exactly how it happened. Exactly how it felt. Not for them, but for me. They thought I'd sit in silence. They thought I'd play my role. They thought I'd disappear with a smile. But not this time. I didn't leave the house that day. I had errands to run, but I canceled everything. I didn't feel like smiling at the bank teller or chatting with the pharmacist. I couldn't bring myself to make small talk when I felt like I was falling apart inside. I sat in the kitchen most of the morning, phone in hand, reading the comments on Emma's birthday post again and again like I was punishing myself. Each comment made it worse. Each, "You're such a thoughtful daughter-in-law," was a slap. Every, "Your mom is lucky to have you," felt like someone spitting on me while I sat invisible in the next room. I hadn't asked for a parade. I hadn't expected much. But now I realized they hadn't forgotten me. They had erased me. Carefully, intentionally, I clicked on Emma's profile photo. I hadn't done that in months. She had changed her profile picture to a shot from the birthday dinner. She was standing next to Michael, both smiling, the cake in front of them, my name written across it in bright red letters, my name, on a cake I wasn't allowed to see. A smile paid for with exclusion. I scrolled through her photos. Why was I not good enough to be at my own birthday dinner? Around 10:01 p.m., my stomach was twisting with nausea. I forced myself to eat some toast. The crumbs stuck in my throat like sand. My apartment felt like a prison. Quiet, still, full of memories that now made me sick. I opened Facebook again. There were more pictures now. The kids playing games. Emma's sister holding up a glass with a tag. To the woman who raised Michael to be such an incredible husband, "You did good, Marion. We love you." I stared at that one for a long time. They were praising me, toasting me, but I wasn't even there, not even invited. That's when something shifted inside me. A pressure I had kept down for years started to rise. I had stayed quiet too long. I had smiled and nodded. I had let them push me out of decisions, birthdays, holidays, out of my own son's life, all because I didn't want to be the difficult one. I didn't want to cause trouble, but now they had crossed a line I couldn't ignore. I went to bed without brushing my teeth. I stared at the ceiling for hours, listening to the hum of the fridge, the occasional siren down the street. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt something colder than sadness. I felt erased, and they thought I would stay quiet. They thought I'd sit in my little apartment, eat my toast, and be grateful for whatever crumbs they threw at me next time. But I wasn't going to sit in silence anymore. Not after this. I woke up the next morning with a stiffness in my chest that had nothing to do with age or arthritis. I had slept poorly, waking up every hour and checking the time like something might change. But when the sun came through the window and I turned over, nothing had changed at all. There was still no message from Michael, no call, no apology, not even a lazy excuse. I made coffee because I always do. I made 2 slices of toast, not because I was hungry, but because routine keeps your hands busy when your mind is falling apart. I sat in the same chair where I had seen the photos the night before. I turned the phone face down again. I didn't want to see the cake anymore. I kept hearing that phrase in my head. Family is who you choose. Emma had said it with a smile, raising her glass in the middle of a celebration that wasn't for me, even though it used my name, my story, and my role as if I were still part of something I had already been removed from. I wasn't surprised Emma had planned it that way, but I was surprised Michael went along with it. I suppose I shouldn't have been. Emma never liked me. That much was clear from the beginning. Not in an obvious way. She never raised her voice or insulted me directly, but she had a way of making me feel like I didn't belong. The first time I met her, she shook my hand and smiled, but there was something cold in her eyes. She always called me Marion instead of Mom, even after the kids were born. She always kept a certain distance, like I was a guest, not family. And little by little, she pulled Michael further away. At first, it was small things. When they moved into their new house, I offered to help unpack. She told me everything was already done. When their first child, Lily, was born, I asked if I could come help during the first week. Emma said her mother would be staying with them. It'll be crowded, she said. We don't want too much stimulation. And Michael? He just nodded along. I told myself it was fine. New mothers are protective. Maybe she just needed space. But the pattern continued. Birthdays, holidays, school plays. If I was invited at all, it was last minute or conditional. I was seated at the far end of the table. I got the leftover ticket. I was told not to bring gifts unless I checked first. And always, Emma had a reason. It's just easier this way. We're trying something more casual this year. The kids get overwhelmed. What I didn't say out loud was that her own parents were always included, always front and center. I once showed up to a Christmas party, the one time I insisted on coming unannounced, and I found her parents there, sipping wine in the living room, playing with the grandkids. I was told they were just dropping off presents. They stayed 4 hours. Michael tried to keep things polite. He'd call sometimes, but never with real news. Never with anything important. Just small talk. He stopped sharing things with me after Emma entered the picture.